I'm Gene Meyer, and we are speaking today from the Dairy Shrine building in Fort Atkinson. This is December of 1990, just before Christmas. And our guest today is Jim Baird, who has been art director at Hoard's Dairyman for more than 40 years. In addition to his well-known work as a photographer and artist at Hoard's, Jim has been a very integral part of this dairy shrine. As a matter of fact, Jim, we were thinking this morning, long before Dairy Shrine was even built here in Fort Atkinson, you were involved with a very extensive dairy exhibit here on the museum grounds. So when did that start?
That started in 1972. It was to commemorate the 100 years of dairying in Wisconsin. In 1872, the Wisconsin Dairymen's Association was formed, and Bill Hoard asked me to build an exhibit to commemorate that event.
Now that though was built out in the, they call it the carriage house or the garage behind the museum. And so you devoted that entire space into this dairy exhibit. And then that dairy exhibit stayed there intact for what, 5 or 6 years before Dairy Shrine moved here?
Pretty much it was left intact until the Dairy Shrine building was built. The shrine made it their home, I believe, in about 1974.
Right.
And some of their portraits were put into the exhibit.
As a matter of fact, that was about the only thing the Dairy Shrine had at that time on display, just the portraits. Well then, that dairy exhibit that you developed, a lot of that is here in the Dairy Shrine today. Can you tell us what was brought over here?
Well, initially when we built the dairy exhibit, I had a collection of dairy-related items. And at the time the dairy exhibit was built, my wife was very happy to find out that most of those artifacts would leave home. Factory milk cans can take up a lot of space. And then we received a lot of dairy-related artifacts from the Ward family. And then we supplemented that with other artifacts that we found in the area. And so there was a large collection of dairy items that came over here to the Shrine building when it was built.
Well, now, when Jack Pennis from Charlotte, North Carolina was commissioned by Dairy Shrine to develop this exhibit, he was very interested in, and I know in particular, the kitchen display. That was part of the old dairy exhibit, and also that cow, that papier-mâché cow, that was part of it.
That was built by a high school art class.
Mm-hmm. And that's still on display and one of the most popular items up there right now, isn't it? Jim, then we're sitting now on the lower level of the Dairy Shrine, and incidentally, the groundbreaking of the Dairy Shrine took place in 1980, I believe, and then we finally had the main opening a year later. But at that time, this lower level was vacant, and you were asked to develop some ideas for exhibits. And as we're sitting here now, and behind us, what was your idea, and how did you get this thing started? What was your main motive on this, Jim?
Well, we had, of course, additional artifacts that we're not able to put on display. And we broke it down into cheese-making items, butter-making items, and just milk-producing items. And so we set up the exhibit with that way, and then we tried to tell a little bit about cheese-making and its history, and also butter-making and its history. And that's how this started. And then later, the AI, artificial insemination industry, wanted to build an exhibit, and that was added later on.
I think, as I recall, that was the year that the National Association had their annual convention in Madison. They were going to tour the Dairy Shrine.
Yes.
So that exhibit was really put together rather quickly, wasn't it?
Yes.
There again, you were the one who coordinated that. We had a committee of people like Dave Yoder and some of the older men in the industry who helped us quite a lot with that. Jim, there's so many artifacts and memorabilia here behind us. Now, these weren't all donated. You acquired a lot of these at flea markets and different places. How did you develop this entire exhibit here?
Well, the Dairy Shrine had a program where I was able to have funds to purchase artifacts, and then as people, shrine members, would give money towards the purchase of an artifact, and their name would be put on it as a donor. And so in my travels, I kept looking for dairy-related items. We picked up a lot of nice butter churns, cheese-making items, and just milk-related items.
Is there any particular one of these that's your favorite? I know you've spent a lot of time in looking through some of these. Is there any particular one that you like among others?
No, I guess not.
I think, too, that it's significant that not too long ago, in fact, this past year in 1990, one of the milking machines company made a rather substantial donation to it. That material has all been donated now, or is that still on loan?
No, that's been donated.
Now, isn't there a difference, too? Some of these items in here are actually donated, but most of them are donated, just a few on loan. Is that right?
Just a few on loan, and we want to keep the loan items down so that we have a permanent exhibit.
In the cabinets over here at my left, we have a lot of smaller items that are not behind us here now. Can you tell what some of the items are in there, and maybe a little history behind some of those things, how they are acquired?
Well, we have a large collection of milk bottles, milk bottle-related items. We have the small premium items that were given out by the various dairy companies like DeLaval, Surge, and some of those other companies.
And some of these things now are extremely valuable. I think
Yes.
you're quite knowledgeable in this area. You prepared a book that you have on sale called Dairy Collectibles. So you have a good handle on how much this stuff is worth and where it can be acquired, that sort of thing.
Well, how much it's worth, where it can be acquired is another thing.
What about the future of this sort of collection? Isn't it true now that more and more people are looking for this type of thing? They're becoming more scarce as time goes on.
So it's getting very difficult. Every once in a while will get a letter from somebody wanting to know where they can get a particular item, and most of the time I'm unable to help them.
Jim, the last addition, the major addition that was just completed here this past year, that gave the shrine some additional space. What did you do? What did you do in that area now? What is the new exhibit?
Well, we were able to add some of the larger items. One thing we've added is a large 7-foot diameter Swiss cheese kettle. That's a copper kettle that's enclosed with wood staves.
That came right from Monroe, Wisconsin.
Yes, it came from a cheese factory down at Monroe. And that was donated by the family down there. And then we were able to put in a number of cream separators and additional Babcock testers. We have a large collection of Babcock testers.
One of the other things, in fact, the hope is to have a place to show these videos, the one like we're making right now, and you're going to have a little theater.
We incorporated a little theater area, and we're waiting now to try to determine what kind of equipment will be needed to show these videos.
Now, I know that this has been sort of a labor of love for you. You've spent hours and hours over here, but do you have any ideas or any plans for what you'd like to see done in the next 4 or 5 years?
Well,
besides the theater, of course.
Yeah, I think we're always going to be probably coming up with more artifacts. Probably we'll need them more display cases.
Some of the smaller items.
We're really not in any desperate need of items.
As far as you're concerned, the exhibits are pretty well set right now. And, well, I know from being an observer over here myself as a volunteer, this area is certainly one of the most popular exhibits in the whole museum complex. And the Dairy Shrine members from around the world are certainly indebted to Jim Baird for developing these dairy exhibits through the years, and it's going to be something that a lot of the visitors are going to want to see in the future. Thank you very much.